Sticking with earnings, pharma giant Lupin seeing a 400% surge in Q1 net profits from a year ago, boosted by income from a cancer program. The company's manufacturing and other expenses also dropping, coming at 24% of its sales, boosting its margins. Lupin also expects the strong growth to continue in the second half of this year. In fact, on that note, I'm pleased to say we're joined by the man behind the business. Nilesh Gupta is Managing Director at Lupin, joining us live from Mumbai. Thank you very much, Nilesh, for joining us. A very good morning to you from Singapore. Give us more color on these earnings, because of course that cancer program led to lofty profits, but what does the road ahead look like?
Sure. So I have to say that we are not satisfied with the earnings. Obviously, there's a significant increase in profits, but if you were to take that licensing income out, and that's not a regular feature with Lupin yet, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but if you were to take that out, you actually see a gross margin decline, and then you see correspondingly an EBITDA decline as well. And you know, our two big markets are the US and India. Talking about the US, so from Q4 to Q1, we actually had a decline in the US, driven by more competition in one of our key products, driven by slower ramp up in albuterol, and then some amount of pricing pressure as well. In India, the growth was very solid. The Indian market grew significantly, and in our segment, we grew faster than the Indian market. So good growth story around the world. The US is in a state of repair. I think that will continue in Q2, but in the second half, we see a very strong US performance, and obviously, you know, we expect significant EBITDA improvement with that.
I believe you launched 15 new products last year in the United States. What's the tally like this year? What's the pipeline looking like this year?
It's going to be a similar number, but I think the two big products to watch out for, one is albuterol, our first inhalation product that we launched. We're still in ramp-up mode there. We have about 12% market share. Our target is to get to that 18-20% market share. I believe we'll be there in the second half. We're ramping up through August as well. But in the second half, that becomes a very solid number. We also partnered on a very nice authorized generic, Rovana, just this past quarter. And that, again, will see a significant ramp up. So you see that inhalation business becoming a meaningful part of the US business. Other than that, I think it's an assortment of products, a bunch of oral solid products. But, you know, all in all, a nice set of new launches coming up.
Okay, Nilesh, have to talk about, you know, the initiative to help with COVID-19 and management of the virus spread in India. You know, the second wave was, of course, very, very heartbreaking to watch in the way it impacted the country. The risk of a potential third wave, and what are the kind of tie-ups that you're looking at to put in place to help with the situation with treatment drugs or even vaccines?
Sure. You know, I'm so glad that we're sitting in a much better place as we're talking about this today. You know, the second wave was absolutely heartbreaking for India, for Lupin, and for the healthcare sector. It actually showed how weak our healthcare sector is. For our own part, as Lupin, we did our bit for the community. We did our bit for, obviously, for our people, protecting them, and while continuing our business is our biggest priority. In terms of our own efforts, we were missing in the first wave, right? And I think a bunch of other companies did a great job. Companies like Cipla, companies like Serum Institute did a great job of stepping up on vaccines and therapeutics. We were very clear that in the next wave, we will play as meaningful a role as possible. And you see that now in our therapeutic pipeline. So if you think about any of the new COVID medicines that would be required, Lupin will have it. I'm hoping that the third wave doesn't come, and if it comes as a much milder one. I think there's a great story on vaccination, herd immunity, and generally masking and the like. I'm hoping that the third wave doesn't come, but if it does come, I think the country is very well prepared for it. For our part, our role has been mostly on therapeutics. So we had products like Favipiravir that we launched, but we have all the others. So you know, the Merck programs, the Pfizer programs, the Shionogi programs, all of these are in our pipeline. And, you know, we want to be able to do our bit to really help the country if the need comes.
Right, and I was also reading on how your Nagpur-based manufacturing facility was being, set up to essentially be utilized for the manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines. Have you been in conversation with any of the large vaccine players to streamline that process?
So we've had conversations. I'm afraid it's not gone far. I think there's a fair bit of supply in India now, and I think the companies are doing a good job of ramping up. Coming late into this, our idea is really to be best in class. So we're still on the lookout for the right platforms to be used. Likely that would be an mRNA platform, but there really isn't any concrete thing to report right now. We do remain interested in the space.
Are you still in conversations, and could you share the names of the manufacturers since you dropped?
We talk to everybody. we talk to everybody. Really, nothing concrete to report now. I don't want to set expectation where it's not due. There really is nothing concrete at this point.
Okay, what about remdesivir and the Gilead license? Also, Eli Lilly and the manufacturing of baricitinib, the therapeutics that you were talking about in the fight against COVID-19. What is the status of that?
So on the second, we launched the Lilly product, baricitinib. We already launched in the market. I think it's a very nice product to add to the accoutrement for COVID treatment. Remdesivir, we've been in talks with Gilead. They have a finite set of licensees right now. We have some very interesting follow-on products that are in development. A liquid product, which in something like India would be a game changer rather than an injectable. We continue our talks with Gilead. Again, I think if cases rise up significantly, that will be the time to push that relationship and make sure that we're able to launch our product. But at one level, I'm almost hoping that it doesn't. We don't need it.
Yeah, but the virus is going to be around for a while, right, Nilesh? So even if it's not about the third wave, you have to sort of incorporate this into your business strategy to think about what kind of a product portfolio you can build to combat this virus over the long term. I was also reading up on how you're ramping up the production of steroids, in your fight against COVID-19. Could you give us more details about that? Anything specific that you can share with us?
Sure. So you're absolutely right. The virus is going to be there for a while. And for that purpose is while we have that portfolio of products, again, we don't know how much we'll use them, but we want to make sure that we're able to make them available for India and certainly any other geography that we will be permitted to as well. And that's why I talked about the latest products. So, obviously the products from Merck, the products from Pfizer, Shionogi, these are custom designed products for COVID treatment, right? Remdesivir did not start that way. But from our perspective, these are the products that we want to be able to have in our basket so that we could promote them and sell them as required. On the others, on the steroids and the like, we're very strongly placed. So again, in the second wave, we played a big role in that. There's a monoclonal antibody product that is in clinical trials as well. So there are a bunch of products that are going to be available. Again, when things rise very significantly, sure, a lot of this gets used off-label. Our intention is really to do more clinical trials to enable more rational use of these products.
Yeah, I also wanted to touch upon your subsidiary's acquisition of Southern Cross Pharma in Australia. Apparently, you're looking at building market share there. So you said that the prominent markets for you, of course, are the US and India. But what about expansion into other geographies and inorganic growth opportunities?
Sure. So not problem markets, those are our big markets, the US and India. Australia, we're very happy with what we built. We're number 4 in Australia with the acquisition of Southern Cross. Really enables us to get to double the size of what we are in the next 2 years. And we'll still be number 4. There's a big gap between number 3 and number 4, but it firmly entrenches us in that it's a business which grows nicely, EBITDA much higher than the company average EBITDA as well. And again, we want to bring our portfolio there. We want to bring inhalation products there. We want to bring biosimilar products there. We're very happy with our position in Australia. Likewise, if I was to go to some of the other markets, South Africa, for example, we have a very strong presence there. Brazil, Mexico, again, budding presences there. So the Lupin strategy is really to focus on 10 markets, go deep in those 10 markets. The US and India are the 2 big ones, but Brazil, Mexico, South Africa, Philippines, Australia. These are the ones where we would bolt in little acquisitions as well. We remain interested in China. Again, in the last year, obviously that took quite a setback. But with our inhalation portfolio, we can't ignore a market like China.
Okay, I want to wrap up, Nilesh, by asking you a big picture question in terms of, all the great plans that you have outlined for your business. What is the biggest headwind out there, that you foresee, the biggest challenge that can impact growth?
Sure. So I think our biggest market is, at one level, our biggest challenge. The US has structurally changed as far as customers are concerned. It's 3 or 4 customers that control the market. It's competitive at the low end. So if you look at the regular oral solids and the like, there's a fair degree of competition there. So the move to complex generics, and a lot of these are getting approved by the FDA for the first time. That is a challenge because you don't have that clarity on how these products would get approved, and you have to work with the agency on that. Coupled with that is the compliance story. I think these are the 2 pieces. Move to complex generics, the compliance story. These are the parts that we absolutely have to get right.
And we wish you the very best for the future, Nilesh. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us insights on your business strategy. Okay, we are almost at the end of the show, but we'll be back with